We have got an upcoming provincial election in June, and no matter what happens, we're going to have a new face at Queen's Park representing Perth Wellington, with Randy Pettipies announcing his retirement from politics. Hi there, I'm Eddie Matthews from the Stratford District Chamber of Commerce with Matthew Rae, who recently defeated Don Van Galen in voting to represent Perth Wellington for the PCs. Matthew, hello and congratulations.
Hi, Eddie. It's great to be here, and thank you for having me on.
For those that don't know you, we should talk. I see you around the building here. Randy Pettipies' office is next door, but we should talk a bit about where you grew up. Where's home turf for you?
Yeah. So I actually grew up just north of Harriston on a small dairy farm operation. My parents still live there on the farm, still farm. They sold the cows and quota a couple of years ago, but grew up in Harriston. Went to Norwell, the high school in Palmerston there, and then went off to obviously University of Guelph, and I actually did a master's as well at the Diplomatic Academy of Vienna in Vienna, Austria. So I lived abroad for a period of time, and then came back and to the area, and I actually got my first job after graduating was with John Nader after his first election. So I was working with him, and now I was fortunate enough to be able to purchase a property and a house in Mitchell a couple of years ago now. So I live in Mitchell now.
What got you interested in politics in the first place?
Yeah, so I've always been interested from a young age in the news. I grew up when I was young. 9/11 was the big sort of world event. Seems like eons ago now compared to everything else that's happened over the past couple of years. And so for me, I was like, I really need to understand what goes on in this world and what the decisions that our politicians make. They obviously affect us in our everyday lives. And so always had an interest in that, and always had an interest in serving my community. Been involved in my community, whether it was back in Harriston, now living in Perth County, throughout wherever I've lived, I've always sort of wanted to be in touch with my community and be involved in service to others. And so I've always been interested in that, and working with John, and as you mentioned, I did work for Randy. Just seeing firsthand that serving one another is really about helping people. And so that's one of the main reasons why I decided to put my hat in the ring for the nomination. Now, obviously moving into the campaign is it's all about helping people. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, and it's will be the big change. You've been kind of behind the scenes, and now the spotlight's on you. You're kind of more on the forefront. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I have some big shoes to fill, that's for sure. And so it's been great so far, getting out there, meeting with voters since I launched my nomination campaign, and now obviously meeting with more voters from across Perth Wellington and hearing about what they want to see in their representative Queen's Park and listening to their concerns. And if I'm successful on June 2nd, taking those concerns to Queen's Park.
Yeah. I should almost rephrase this one, but let's face it, from when you started in politics to what we've gone through, there's a big change that we've seen before COVID and as we move past COVID. How do you handle all this sort of stuff? And we've got an awful lot of issues that have to be addressed.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There is a lot of issues out there, especially at the provincial level. Not going to lie, it's going to be a challenge. And it's going to be a challenge for no matter who is elected on June 2nd. There's a lot of challenges ahead of us, but I think personally, I am young, and so it takes a lot of energy to meet those challenges and work with our community leaders at the municipal level, federal level, and community organizations to meet those challenges we face, whether it's in healthcare, housing.
Yeah, and you touched on what I want to talk about. Let's face it, housing affordability, that's going to be one of the top things right now. It's such a problem that I think it almost qualifies as more of a social issue as much as an economic or a political one. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. And so I actually serve on the Perth County Committee for Affordable and Attainable Housing right now. So I've sort of been involved looking at that issue locally. And from my perspective, as a young first-time homeowner, the house I live in Mitchell is a century home, and it's a starter home, but I wouldn't be able to afford it if it was on the market today. And that's just after basically almost 3 years, which is for me crazy. And so definitely working with private businesses, developers, but also with our social housing. It's a as they will talk about at length, it is continuum, and it is a continuum. And so there are various needs where the province has been investing across the province in social housing or in even working with private developers to build that missing middle, as they sometimes refer to it.
Yeah, this almost goes hand in hand because aside from housing, we've got labor issues, healthcare, long-term care, and let's face it, even gas prices are going to be top of mind going into the next election.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot, as I mentioned previously, and you've mentioned as well, there's a lot of issues, obviously, going into the next election. I know long-term care, it's been great to see that the province has invested some more into long-term care. It's the first time in almost 10 years that we're starting to actually build, upgrade and build new beds in the riding, whether it's in St. Mary's and Stratford. They recently announced they're finally moving forward with people care, the 60 beds that were tied up in the old institution, 100 new beds that will come with it. And so it's great to see those investments locally and making sure we continue to see that moving forward as well.
Yeah. Last question, I guess, because I know there's so much that needs to be addressed, and you're still getting used to everything being in the forefront. Last question, and I'm sure you're going to be hearing this a lot over the next few months, but why should I vote for Matthew Rae?
Yes, it's a very good question. As I mentioned previously, I'm running because I want to help people. I'm running to ensure that Perth Wellington continues to receive the investments it has. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And I believe we need, obviously, we will have a new voice, but I believe we need a young perspective at Queen's Park. And we need someone who knows and what it takes to be an effective MPP and to be ready on day one to serve the constituents and the businesses and the community groups in Perth Wellington. So I believe, obviously, I'm in the best position for that, but I look forward to making that case to voters across Perth Wellington.
I know we'll be talking a lot more over the next few months and that, but I just wanted to introduce you to people and let them see who Matthew Rae is, and we'll be talking more before. We've got a few debates that are going to be coming up in Stratford and St. Mary's, and I'm sure you've got a few others that'll be coming up around Perth Wellington. Matthew, congratulations again, and best of luck. We'll definitely be talking soon, okay?
Thanks very much, Eddie. It's been great to be on.
I'm Eddie Matthews from the Stratford and District Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for watching.